somebody's got a very scalable technology that kind of takes off and takes over the world energy thing. So it's like but if you're one of those guys, and I know two of them, they're having a hell of a time getting funding for it.
Yeah.
And
who wants to fund their own demise? You know, these guys who could fund this stuff are the ones who are invested in the system now.
That's right. The part of the problem is the 1% that both in the corporations and in the people that got to the top got there by the old system that's taken the planet down. So the question then becomes, how do the 1% finally realize it's in their own best interest to slit their throats in one sense and go this new direction? So it's pretty tough. It's like, it'll be very entertaining to see how this drama plays out. Do we destroy planet Earth, or do we save it, or is it somewhere in between, or do we get ourselves knocked really, really, really badly, and then finally empower the people in the power to make the major changes to prevent collapsing the world as we know it? And most of the people I talk to, I call them the optimistic doomers, seem to be in that category. Actually, in the last year, it's flipped. It used to be 2 out of 3 were optimistic doomers. 1 out of 3 thought we were over the tipping point and we were going to crash the system no matter what. The last year or two, it's kind of flipped. Now it's like 2 out of 3 say we're past the tipping point and we're going to crash no matter what. And that includes people on the left, right, and center. That's not just lefties. That's like all the full spectrum of America seems to be feeling that way now, at least the ones I talk to. And so it's interesting times we live in. And if you don't have your grab-and-go kit ready and you don't have at least some basics, then shame on you.
Well, and I would recommend a couple things for that. We have these, they're little cards. They're called rad stickers, and they basically point out, you know, if you're in an area with radiation, you know, you wear these on your body. We'll get a shot of that here overhead. And we also have ThyroSafe, which is potassium iodide tablets. Let's talk a little bit about potassium iodide. It's not something you want to start taking now. It's something you only want to start taking if you know you have radiation coming at you. What can you tell us about potassium iodide?
Well, potassium iodide is actually, you carry something else that's a broader band thing than the potassium iodide. You are also stocking modafinil on your store now.
There it is. I was just about to bring that up.
And the potassium iodide basically, see, when around Chernobyl, the Chernobyl necklace is like everywhere. And that's thyroid tumors. And in the Pacific Islanders who are downwind from the Bikini Atoll and the U.S., you know, open air tests, and to a lesser degree, the people in Utah, you know, downwind from the Nevada test site, it's like they never blew it off when it was headed towards lots of people like Vegas. They only blew it off when it headed out in the, you know, those poor people in the smaller towns out there in southern Utah. And so the Chernobyl necklace is when the radioactive heavy metals go into the body in the iodine, and the iodine is used by the thyroid gland, and then it lodges in there, and it leads to tumors and cancers over time. So when you take potassium iodide, you're saturating your body with non-radioactive iodine so that the body doesn't tend to suck in the iodine. But it's not really getting rid of the poison that much out of your body. It's preventing it's giving you enough iodine so you're not sucking in the iodine, but it's not preventing you from getting like the strontiums and the cesiums in the body and the uraniums and the plutoniums, but it is protecting you from radioactive iodine to a large degree. Now, the other material you've got, the modafinil, that's a kelp extract where they've made it very bioavailable. See, if you and I go out and eat kelp, well, we're not ocean-going animals, so our body's not designed to digest kelp. But when it's processed properly, then you get all of this bioactive iodine, and you have other active ingredients in the kelp that help to bond to the radioactive heavy metals in your body and actually help the body dump it. It's called chelation, and it bonds to the metals and it dumps it out through your urine and through your feces. So the modafinil actually gives you much broader protection than the potassium iodide does. And it helps you protect you against all of the metals. Now, nothing's perfect. You know, I mean, obviously perfect is like not ingesting any radioactive material yourself, either breathing it in or coming in through your food or water. That's perfect. But, you know, we don't live in a perfect world. So I'm taking 4 capsules of the modafinil every day, and I will as long as I live, provided I have access to it.
Well, it says here 40 pounds of raw seaweed is needed to make 1 pound of modafinil. So, I mean, it really is. They really are, processing that to get it as concentrated as possible. And there's some guys here that are taking it, and they actually told me before I came on the air, they said, our hair and fingernails are growing a lot faster than they did before. That's one thing they noticed.
Well, maybe I should take more of the stuff. What do you think?
Well, they had hair to begin with, though. So.
Yeah, it's got a lot of bioactive compounds in there, trace minerals and elements from the kelp and seaweed. So it's good for you, whether it's doing, in spite of the other things, it's just good as a supplement to take. And there are people who claim it helps them to dump weight and all of that. I haven't really noticed that effect myself, but I do feel good on it and don't notice any unpleasant side effects from taking it.
Right. Well, hey, let me ask you this, Matt. We have when disaster strikes and when technology fails. If you can only afford one, what in your opinion is the best one to get?
If you're worried about, this is sort of, I got to answer with a caveat. If you're worried about the world totally falling apart, then unquestionably get the bigger book, When Technology Fails. But the new book, if you're worried, if you want to have a compact manual for your go bag, that's a perfect prepping and survival handbook, then When Disaster Strikes is like your perfect prepping and survival handbook. But it doesn't have the primitive technologies, how to do things the old way in case everything fell apart. So there's a little different focus. Plus, When Disaster Strikes has new material on surviving a nuclear catastrophe, on solar storms and EMP, specific chapters on fires, a chapter on earthquakes, chapter on hurricanes and floods. So it's got some information that's not in When Technology Fails. So I hope I answered your question. It's not, there's no easy way to answer it.
Two is better than one, is what essentially you said. And then we also have Strategic Relocation by Joel Skousen, who we've had on the show, and we did a really in-depth interview that we're putting together, a DVD with his, which basically describes, if you're going to go with that mindset that it's all going to collapse, go with this at least to prepare yourself. And I think, strategic relocations with When Technology Fails is, your best bet if you're going to go in at it with a group of people and you're going to try to make it out of whatever happens. That's your best bet.
And don't forget Carla Emery's Encyclopedia of Country Living. If you want to really, deal with a full-on collapse situation, then, if I had like two books, only two I'd carry, I'd bring that. When Carla Emery and When Technology Fails. If I wanted to add another book, I'd add an illustrated herbal guide with full season pictures to local herbs. And then Joel Skousen's book's a good book. There's a lot to keep adding. So you kind of start with the core of your food, your shelter, your basic technologies, and your medicine and first aid, and then expand outward to improve your library.
Well, and it's our duty to be prepared. So when the time comes, the people that are prepared are going to have to share their knowledge with the people who aren't prepared. And guess what? Those people are going to be your best friends. And they'll probably do a lot of the legwork that need, if you've got all the answers to stuff, these are the people that are going to help you. So, and that's how you build community too, with leaders and with people working together to make stuff, happen. So we can get through whatever's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. It'll probably be a financial crisis before anything else.
Probably, but if we have a major solar storm, the end of the year, we got a solar maximum coming up. If we had a big solar storm like 1921 or 1859, those are an average of 75 years apart, and it's been 90 years since the last one. So do the math. We're due for one. If we have one like that, it could flip in an instant to where just things fell apart quite quickly all over. And so you don't know. Logically, rationally, financial crash, a bigger Great Depression is a very logical outcome. I'd say that's most probable, but very significant likelihood for a solar storm and a significant but lesser likelihood for an EMP causing an attack, electromagnetic pulse attack. And that would probably be more likely in the center of the United States or over the northeastern United States. But, it's kind of a crap shot, rolling the dice. Nobody knows until it happens.
Well, there you go. We're going to leave it at that. This was a great interview, Matthew Stein. And go ahead and plug your website.
Yeah, the website, whentechfails.com. There's some WHENTECHFAILS. There's some tremendous, totally free information. Just click on articles, full grab and go kit lists, how to purify water, protect yourself from the next superbug. Really great, totally free information. So check it out.
That's great. And we posted your press release today with some links to stuff that we carry in addition to the stuff that you carry, because that's what it's all about. You got to get prepared and don't take it lightly, because you never know. You never know when a land hurricane's going to come through your town. You don't know.
That's right.
Until it happens. And then, we had people calling into the show today. I didn't realize how unprepared I was until the power went out for 5 days. Now I realize how unprepared I am. So don't be those people. And with that, Matt, thanks for coming on the show, and we'll talk to you later.
You're welcome. It's always a pleasure, and have a great day. Do your best to change the world, and do your best to be ready for those changes, because they're coming.
There you go. Well, that was a great interview. Thank you, Matt. And right here, we got our Pro Pure. This is one of the fewest of the brushed metal version. I would advise you, if nothing else, get you a water filter, because you can only go 3 days without water. You can last a little bit without food. You can last a little bit without the radiation stuff, and that hasn't hit there yet. But, the water, clean water is what you need to live, period. So get your Pro Pure filter if you haven't got one yet, or get another type of water filter. We also have the Life Straw. It's one of the other things we carry. That's our show for today, and it's been monumental. We've played Alex's Ask Alex, the first one. We're going to have another one coming up tomorrow, and then another one coming up Wednesday. We finally gotten these edited. We thank you for sending in your questions via Planet InfoWars. And if you're not a member of Planet InfoWars, I suggest you get over there and start joining up with people. I've had people contacting me. They want to get in contact with different people. And I say, you know what? Go through Planet InfoWars. That's how you're going to do it. That's how you're going to meet the people in your area that are doing the things that you're doing, that are getting prepared, that are talking about this stuff, that care about this stuff, So do that. Once again, I'm going to throw the books up again. We got Strategic Relocations with Joel Skousen. We got a great video we're working on that. When Disaster Strikes. This is the handbook for the short-term stuff, as Matt said. And then he said with the caveat, if you think it's all going to fall apart, get When Technology Fails. This teaches you how to live off the grid. Monophylan, he takes 4 capsules a day. A couple of the guys in the office take any. I haven't started yet, but I think I'm going to. It sounds, anything to get the heavy metals and stuff that we put into our bodies through the processed foods, through the crappy fluoridated water, all the stuff out there. By the way, you can get fluoride filters for your Pro Pure filter, along with the silver impregnated charcoal filters. There's the charcoal filters, and if you scroll up there, you got the fluoride filters. So we all know what fluoride does. We've hit that nail on the head several times. And if you're under a rock, it's not good for you. It's going to cause your bones to get brittle. It's going to cause you to be stupid. And it's going to calcify right up there in your pineal gland, which is what some people think of as our third eye. That's our show for today. I'm Rob Dew, and we'll see you tomorrow. Alex will be here tomorrow, and he'll be on with Wayne Madsen. So stay tuned for that, and keep watching, and wake someone else up and wake yourself up, and that's about all I have to say. Good night.